Welcome to RevXP Presents, our monthly series where we connect with some of the biggest industry stakeholders in gaming and esports. I'm Chris Mann, the SVP of RevXP, and this month I have the pleasure of talking to Grant Paranjape, who is the VP of Esports Business at the Washington Justice. What's up, Grant?
Hey, how's it going, Chris?
What's going on? Great to connect with you. Wish we were doing this in person, and thanks for spending some time dropping some insights. So for those of you out there that don't know, Grant is responsible for overseeing the business side and competitive side of the Justice. He's been with the team for 3 years and previously was with Monumental Sports and Entertainment. So Grant, we like to keep these tight, we like to keep these informative, but the most important question is always, what games are you playing right now?
Oh God, yeah. Starting with the hard-hitting questions, Chris. So I'd be lying if I said I wasn't playing Valorant. Valorant has definitely been taking a lot of my attention lately, but also the Overwatch 2 beta, which is coming back in a couple of days here. I think it's June 28th. They just announced, so definitely excited to get back into the Overwatch 2 beta, but splitting my time on Valorant right now.
Well, maybe I will have to get back into Overwatch. My Mercy skills are legendary from back in the day. And
Best
I have
pocket Mercy I ever had, Chris. Best pocket Mercy.
And we've had so many nights playing Overwatch, especially Overwatch 1, and our paths have crossed, given my role previously with T-Mobile and leading them around the Overwatch League partnership. So let's talk about Overwatch League, because it is an exciting time to talk about Overwatch League, especially with the new game coming out in the league and what's going on there. So, when brands are thinking about the Overwatch League, what are some opportunities that they should know around the Justice and around the Overwatch League in terms of how they can activate and find value?
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time. I know you and I were joking that you picked the perfect week to have me on, right? We just announced, or Activision just announced that the game would be kind of releasing into early access on October 4th. I think there's a couple more announcements planned for this Thursday on the 16th, and then obviously kind of coming back, the beta coming back on the 28th. So really exciting times. I think Overwatch 2 has been something that folks have been waiting a long time for, and obviously excited with a lot of the new content and heroes that are kind of coming into that game. So I think from the brand standpoint, when you think about getting involved in the Overwatch ecosystem, really one of the key differentiators is the city-based association, right? I think from our standpoint, when we're talking to brands and talking to partners, the fact that Activision kind of had the idea to more closely follow traditional sports and how the league is set up in terms of you have the Washington Justice, Philadelphia Fusion, New York Excelsior, and so on. You're really unlocking a lot of opportunities in these local markets for brands to really build deeper relationships with our fan bases and folks located in kind of these key areas. So from the brand standpoint, there's a ton of different ways to get involved in esports and even more broadly into the gaming industry, whether it's through activations with Fortnite or you can take your pick. There's a number of different ways to do it, but I think for those brands who really want to touch a specific demo and a specific market, particularly where you have kind of these exclusive marketing areas for Overwatch League teams, getting involved with a team like ours is a great way to do that.
Thanks, Greg. Can you talk? I think that's really interesting for brands because, obviously gaming is so digitally driven and, we're not really, limited by physical location. But the opportunity, or maybe drop an example or two, some best practices where some brands that you guys worked with in the local area around DC that have done it right and why those opportunities have worked.
Yeah, so I think, one of the interesting things is that you really kind of get the best of both worlds by partnering with a team that does have the city-based association, right? You mentioned esports is inherently such a global product, but we started off a relationship with it's a local credit union here in the DMV called PenFed. They're headquartered out in Virginia. They really wanted to get involved with us back in 2020 when we were hosting one of our homestand weekends, right? For a lot of these non-endemic brands, the concept of a live event hosted at an iconic venue, we hosted it down at the Anthem down by the wharf. That was an idea that they could really get their heads around, right? It's a local live event experience. It just happens to be that you have esports competition kind of happening up on stage, and really from that relationship, it kind of blossomed into a much larger partnership that's been spanning a couple of years now. And once you kind of get start building that relationship with a brand, you can start exposing them to all of the other assets that that teams, particularly in the Overwatch League or just really endemic teams in esports in general, have access to, right? We have all of our own original produced content that we can do that's really genuine with our players and really resonates with our fans. We have a practice facility where folks can, brands can actually activate in front of a live audience, as well as have branding in the space itself. Obviously, we have tremendous reach through our Overwatch League broadcasts, where team partners are actually able to get exposure on the league broadcast as well. And then obviously all of our social and digital content that we put out, right? I think that really is the bread and butter for a lot of endemic esports teams. So when you're a brand kind of thinking about getting into the space, you really have a lot of different avenues to choose from. But I think partnering with an Overwatch team or a CDL team, some of these teams that have city-based associations, it really does unlock a pretty special mix of assets.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of times what we talk to brands about is esports, especially esports teams, having a very unique opportunity for a brand to tell that brand story, almost like a media company with your creators, with your players, the playing competitively in the league. But additionally, it's a very if you've been in traditional sports, whether it be league sponsorships or team sponsorships, there's a lot of synergies in terms of how esports teams can actually activate for you, and the way those partnerships come to life. And so I think when brands may be a little cautious or don't understand the ecosystem, which many do because it is a relatively new ecosystem than say something like the NMLB or NFL, which has been around for 100 years, right? There are similar pathways of entry, and I think that's really important for brands to recognize. Could you give us an example of a pathway or two, or a way that you guys activate that may be similar to traditional sports, especially when it comes to the localized activation opportunities?
Well, yeah, and I think that was just to add on, I think that's what makes activating esports, or for brands getting into esports, so exciting, right? My time in Monumental Sports, I was fortunate enough to kind of watch how on the traditional sports side, how a lot of those partnerships were structured, right? You had these major blue chip brands and Pepsi or Anheuser-Busch, right? Going to kind of our experienced global partnerships team at Monumental, and it was very transactional, right? There was a rate card. It was hey, how many seconds of courtside signage do you want? Yeah. Cool. Here's the size of your check. Here's what you're getting, right? And it's not to underplay that there's certainly still innovation happening on that side of the business, but there's definitely a lot less flexibility and creativity that you can have on the traditional sports side. Whereas we like to say in esports, it really is a blank canvas, right? We've done we've had partners come to us and say, hey, we only want content, right? We don't care about the social branding, we don't care about broadcast assets. We only want your players in pieces of branded content with associated with our IP or our product, right? So I think having the flexibility to kind of create a package that meets a brand's specific request like that is something that we can do, and obviously keeping in line with hitting our key demo and that very attractive kind of 18 to 34-year-old demo that we all know is really important on the esports side. So I think it's something that makes esports really, really special.
Yeah, the demographic that's cutting the cord, that's not watching traditional TV, where gaming is their main passion point and form of entertainment. And I think where you mentioned, and I've obviously spent a long time in traditional sports as well, maybe things are a little bit more transactional. Esports teams, whether it's in a game like Overwatch, most teams play in a variety of different games, giving brands access to a variety of different communities. It's not just, hey, you're sponsoring the Capitals, you're sponsoring this org with many potential teams or creators, and can reach a variety of different things and do different things for you. And it is really safe to say that esports platforms like Twitch, YouTube gaming, esports teams like the Justice are really leading, the world's charge, and have been leading the world's charge to, digital live stream entertainment. And, it's exciting to see that, and as we think about innovation, something, the other question I always like to ask those that come on here is, innovation is really core to everything we do around gaming and esports, gaming, sure, the metaverse, Web3, whatever buzzword that wants to be used that week. At the end of the day, it's all about innovation, and innovation through digital to touch people, around their passion points. And so, what are you looking most forward to in terms of being on the team side, with a game like Overwatch that's, coming essentially on its second act right now? What kind of innovations are you looking forward to as a future, and why should brands keep an eye on those?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, the rate at which the industry changes and the rate at which these leagues and these esports evolve is just so much faster than really any other medium that I think we see out in the marketplace. And so, if you're a brand looking to get involved in the space, right, like you need to either work with kind of a trusted agency partner or kind of build that internal knowledge within your organization, and really have a kind of a champion keeping track of how fast things are moving, right? Valorant didn't exist 2 years ago, and it is now one of the largest esports in the world, right? The Overwatch League has a completely different format and a different schedule than when it originally launched, right? Having folks who can kind of keep a finger on the pulse, I think is so valuable for brands as they're looking to explore the space. And I think one of the things that we are most excited about on the team side is just pushing the boundaries of how brands can really be integrated into league broadcasts and into the actual product of any sport, right? I think we've seen tremendous creativity on the Valorant front in terms of how they're using in-game assets to not only promote their own events, but also on the brand side, League of Legends implementing that for some of their marquee tournaments and LCS as well. So I think when you think about the future of us having a new game, Overwatch 2, in terms of October, entering that early access and whatnot, I think we're all really excited, at least on the team side. I think on the league side, to see like kind of what that refreshed game and whatnot kind of unlocks in terms of actually getting brands into the IP and ultimately, just deepening the connection that they're able to kind of build with our consumers.
Absolutely. I think you hit it on the head. It's like, how do you deepen that connection? Innovation can deepen a connection between, across main passion points, and with gaming being such a strong passion point for that demographic, the younger demographic, I think that's really key for brands, is how do you add value to that experience through the game, whether it's Overwatch or whatever else, to create that connection for your brand, to show that your brand adds value to that community experience. And that's always been, something we've talked a lot about, and it's exciting to hear that, that 6-7 years later, it really is consistent, and I think that, there's something to be said of the recipe and the formula doesn't necessarily have to change. It's how do you make it interesting for that brand around that community. And so, as we close this out, where can people find you?
Great question. So at Wash Justice on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the major social platforms. Myself, it's at Kiranthil. I'm sure Chris can drop it in chat or whatnot on the end card, but I appreciate you obviously having me on, and I think really exciting times like we chatted about for brands to want to get into the space.
Well, Grant, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time, sharing some insights around Overwatch and the city-based system that has been created around that game. Congrats on all the great news that's coming out around the game. Looking forward to playing the beta. I will be your pocket mercy, and I'm looking forward to getting back into the game. Those of you that are watching, thank you guys for spending time as always with us. We hope you found this informative, and we look forward to the next one. Take care, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.